I know Mike said last time that he was swelling with pride when he heard the Twitter Spaces wrap up because this is what Mike and the Minute Fans has begun. So it's very. Blind Owl, are you there, my friend?
I am here. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
That is just great to hear.
Okie doke, you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Perfect. So welcome to the KMS Wrap Up Twitter Spaces. Today's show, Group Therapy, named after, it was a very, I don't know if this is the right term, like old school KMS episode today with Linda Marks and the bad radio and
almost like a callback. Almost like a callback.
Yeah, it was very, it really did have those 2019 vibes where the shows were going on for 4 hours every day and there was a million different things to talk about. And I think it's always good to like always obviously refreshing things, and if we're doing Linda Marks or bad radio every day, it can get kind of old. But I think every once in a while a good callback is needed just to make you appreciate the good old days.
Sure, just to mix it up a little bit.
So it started off today. Main thing is Linda Marks come out with a brand new song about the shooting in Uvalde, Texas.
The hits just keep on dropping.
And she had interesting take. She thinks action should be taken. The song was through the perspective of a child who was murdered in the shooting. And I think Kirk is great when he's going through the Linda Marks song and it starts off and he's like, "Oh, I'm really surprised it started off this way because Linda Marks really does every single one of her songs sounds exactly the same."
No, I'm not a musician, but I do have a trained ear for things.
Okay.
And when they all sound exactly the same, it's like, okay, maybe throw a violin in there, even like something else.
Yeah, so I actually looked it up today, and she recently came out, I believe, on June 1st. She came out with a greatest hits album, but it's but it's not a greatest hits album. It's like a B-sides album that she's calling a greatest hits album because it's like a compilation of songs that didn't make her other albums.
How can they be a hit if they didn't make an album?
That's my thing, because I was going through it. I was like, where's Heroes? I mean, Heroes has to be her biggest hit of all time. It has to have the most streams by far.
Can't even be close.
And just going back and going through all the just going through the Linda Marks Peace Abbey stories and everything like that, and just revisiting that day is just funny. Blind Owl, you weren't there, were you?
I was not there, unfortunately.
It was it was quite the experience. She was really the first big KMS homegrown person to kind of come and go in the world. I mean, you had William Bendenson.
Well, I was going to say it's either her or Bendenson.
But Bendenson kind of is what I mean is by first homegrown KMS. It's kind of like Bendenson was a carryover from Kirk and Callahan, Sue O'Connell, Kirk and Callahan. Linda Marks really just kind of she took off, and there was a couple weeks there where it was just heroes blaring all the time.
It was really just she was the first real big star from outside the world.
Yeah, and she, it always does, it always ends poorly. I remember her coming and she's she could barely talk, and I remember it was my first day as an intern or whatever. I drove Mike there and I had to help her set up and everything like that, and I helped her pack up at the end after she
set up for what
played song. Well, she had a setup and she played songs from her iPod, and then I helped her pack up, and she was like, "You were such a big help today," and she gave me a CD, and I still have that CD.
Oh,
and it's
do you have a CD player? Is the better question.
Yes, in my car.
Look at that.
So next road trip me and Mike take, we'll be blasting along that. But I saw some feedback today that people didn't like the Linda Marks segments, and
I enjoyed it. It was fun, but it wasn't the song was just decent enough to not be funny. I mean, Kirk made it funny, but it was just decent enough.
And it also didn't have a silly. I mean, say what you want about the song today, but at least the subject matter itself isn't very silly, with the dead children.
But
and all
I
that.
mean,
And then the heroes song was just a perfect combination of just like silliness, her talking about organized crime and why do we shoot our hero. Like there's
and it
such
was covered by Bob Holer, which
yes.
adds to the humor.
Yes, and whenever Linda Marks gets brought up, now Bob Holer gets brought up, and then the whole dog shitting story gets brought up, and
Sure.
it's just a whirlwind of just classic KMS hits.
Yeah, it really, like you said, it just brings it back to they start reviewing the old hits and how Mike tweeted that the Globe wrote about dog shit like a few years ago. Like it's good to hear that kind of thing just come up every now and then.
Yeah, so that was a good start, and then we rolled into another classic KMS bit, these are the segments that made me fall in love with the show when I first started listening. The
Sure.
bad radio is just great. The War of the Roses stuff, the fake 911 calls, the neighbor who's naked in Arizona.
Yeah.
These things and then a brand new one today with group therapy, which is just like such a strange. Like I guess it must bump the ratings. People must love this.
They do it every day. Now I actually have some experience with this station. I happen to be a country music fan, which is one of my biggest faults as a human.
Okay.
And I listen to the station sometimes on the way into work. Well, my wife and I do, and I've actually heard this advertised. They do teases for this. I
Yep.
typically get to work at 7.
Oh damn!
I think they do this at 8:30.
Yeah,
So
they said they do it every day at 8:30.
They're teasing this at 6:45, 6:50.
So you know what this made me realize is like how easy it must be, and like how people go after Kirk and will be like, oh, it's like today people are like, oh, he's attacking Linda Marks, or not attacking, but he's making fun of her music again. It's like, well, he really hasn't done this in 2 years. Meanwhile, on the radio, this country music station plays country songs, and then they do this thing every single day. And they'll probably do this until they get another prep burger thing where it's like,
of course,
oh, look, now we're gonna connect people with their old high school crushes,
exactly,
or something
it's
of this.
But it's just how can I make money doing this? Like, these bad radio segments have actually kind of ruined the radio for me. I used to like listening to the radio.
Yep.
But now I hear these segments and I'm like, oh, that's canned. Oh, that's canned.
Yeah.
Oh, they did that already.
I remember like driving in the morning in high school and middle school listening to Mix 104.1 with my mom and my siblings, and like we'd be like, oh, War of the Roses is coming on. We'd be like, this is, and then like I'm trying to say I lost a little respect for my mom, but like it's tough once you realize that they're so fake to be like get excited over it, and because they do the exact same. It's like it's a different script. The group therapy was than the War of the Roses, but like what's her name's daughter? Not Charlie Baker. Scott Brown's daughter. Ayla Brown. She was doing the exact same thing, Kennedy would do, where it's like, oh my god, like it's like they literally have this down to a science of how to do these, of how to get just the general population involved, and so it was very funny to hear today.
They probably just sit in a booth and record them like all on Monday.
Yeah,
and then just play
that's
them.
The thing. It must be like the easiest. Like it must be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go take my 30-minute shit break or smoke break while they do. We recorded 50 of these at the start of the year because they're timeless, and it's just like, I don't know. Bad radio is just so funny. I remember at one point, 2019, Kirk said like, this might just become a bad radio like a bad radio covering podcast, and I'm not necessarily.
Which there needs to be something that actually does that. Like there needs to be I don't have the technology to do it, but that'd be a YouTube show.
Oh yeah, it's great. Just like and it's funny, like you say YouTube show, like there is an audience for like Mix 104.1 like puts all of the War of the Roses things on YouTube, and they get views and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So that was it. Like I said, it was just classic 2019 KMS. Makes you want to go back and listen to the old episodes of that. Couple other things from today's show. sounds like Kirk is out on Rome. Sounds like Rome will not be the powerhouse content that we thought it was going to be.
Was anyone in? I mean,
well, 2 weeks ago, Kirk came in and said, "This is the only thing I want to talk about. We might spend 4 hours on this," and he dissected it as much as he could. I listened.
But how could you?
I listened this morning on 1.5 speed, and it really is just like the majority of it is just Matt just talking about buying his RV, which is something I blame you for, because if you remember, we did the first wrap up show and you were like, I want to hear the story of how he like bought the RV, and
I am seriously to blame for this. It was
happy
terrible
because we got exactly that, and
I'm sorry. It was not as good as I suspected.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay. Well, I mean, there's just like, and then now he's doing like bits inside of it.
Like the phony call?
I didn't even, so I listened to it. I'm driving into work to pick up Mike. And then he does the tease and he's like, and I had the craziest fucking phone call I've ever had in my life. I was like, okay. And I switch it off. Then I pick up Mike and I was like, have you listened to Rome? And he was like, yeah, I was getting all sudsy in the shower this morning while I was listening to it. And I was like, very nice. And he's like, the ending was strange. I was like, yeah, the tease was weird. He's like, oh no, not the tease. I'm talking about the actual phone call. And I was like, oh. So then I listened to it and it was just like,
it's so clearly his voice.
Well, of course it's his voice. He's used the voice in parody songs and things of that nature before. But it was just like so like I still don't understand what the podcast is. Right now the podcast should be called We Bought an RV.
Matt,
and
the podcast should be Matt talks about shit he wanted to talk about.
And well, I guess it's wild, but it sounds like Kirk's out on it.
So much RV talk.
So I'm not sure. I'm sure me and Dave will still listen on Mondays to see if anything crazy comes up or if there's any references or anything in that nature. But it's just it's just been a tough listen. And so to hear Kirk kind of say today, like he's out, he kind of, did the heel turn on Matt. It was like, fuck this guy. So we'll see how that goes. A couple other big things from today's show. Kirk said he actually might have, I knew on Thursday when Kirk came in to talk about it, because he saw me typing on my laptop and he's like, well, what are you doing with your laptop like that? And I feel like this has been brought up on the show a couple times before.
Coincidentally, you and I had this conversation before we did the one we did on StreamYard.
Oh yeah, no, I always mention every now and then about about my asset, but it's not something I bring up a lot. So Kirk comes back to the producer's booth or whatever, and he's like, what's, and I was like, oh, I have terrible eyesight. And he's like, can't get like LASIK or wear glasses. And I was like, nope, I got the same thing Mike has. And he was like, oh, I did not know that. So I figured it was going to be brought up. And yeah, my eyesight is it's a touchy subject. It's I mean, it's well, I'm going to keep on chugging along until
you're preaching to the choir on that one.
I can't anymore. In regards to that, it's also I don't think it's like I think Kirk said like Justin's trying to really steal like the blind thing from Mike, and and no, I don't think I'm trying to do that. Maybe I am subconsciously.
Stolen valor, stolen disability. Is that a thing?
But it's certainly not something. But yeah, it's just like I always hold my phone close, and I just have terrible eyesight in general.
I mean, again, preaching to a choir here. You'll get no arguments with me. Hold your phone as close to your face as you want.
And so before we get to like the foreplay and looking forward to the rig show, there is one more thing I wanted to bring up, and we were talking. It was kind of towards the end of today's show. First thing, like I like this is just what makes me love Kirk, like as a listener, just to hear like, okay, we're going to take phone calls, and then Kirk's like, are they loaded up? Dave's like, not really, and Kirk's like, yeah, we're all set. And like half of me like expected just from like, oh, we're not doing phone calls. Like, let's see. I think the show went on for like another hour past that.
It did go on for another hour. It was cleanup week at school, and I was doing a whole bunch of stuff, and I heard that, and I looked at my phone. I'm like, oh man, there must not be any time left, and it's had about 49 minutes. When said that. I'm like,
it's
okay.
What just makes Kirk great is that he's just able to be like, either we can use the phone calls for content, or like I don't even think this week's gonna. I don't know if they take phone calls with Riggs on Wednesday or on Thursday with Greg Polar, but we'll get to that in
that moment.
2 seconds. So the last thing I wanted to bring up is at the end of the show, they're going through Mike's new merch, which is great at blindmike.net. Definitely check that out.
Definitely.
And Kirk asks, he's like, why didn't you come out with your own coffee and things of that nature? And so the day Callahan coffee came out, and it was like a thing on the show, I made one for Mike. It was like blindmikestore.com or whatever. It lapsed because there was like a 14-day free trial that I was going to run it out, but I wasn't going to pay it was like $30 a month and $30 for the drop shipping. So I wasn't going to be paying like $60 a month for something that wasn't going to be used. And I think Mike's in the chat listening right now, and I know he said that he decided not to do it because it kind of became untimely and things like that. What I remember more from it is that, maybe I'm wrong, is that Mike was kind of on edge about doing it because it might not necessarily piss off Craig, but just kind of be like kind of a dickish move to Craig to kind of be like, oh, or put Craig in a bad situation. Or bad.
He didn't want to step on Craig's coffee toes.
No. Just to be like, just for like, if he came out with like, now we have blind Mike coffee, and then Craig's in a like between a rock and a hard place where he has Jerry's coffee and then he has Mike's coffee, which was made specifically to make fun of Jerry's coffee. That more
competing brands,
that more Minifans would probably buy. But I don't know. Healthy competition's a good thing. But I was thinking about that. I didn't think about that during the show today. But listening back, I was like, I think I kind of got like hints of that. I could be completely wrong. I mean, Mike's listening right now, so he's probably like, Justin's just acting like a fucking moron and has no idea what he's talking about.
Could be a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. It could just be, I just
got a text from the man himself. It was very funny. When has Mike given me the idea that he cares about Craig? That's a good point.
That's also a solid.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, I was thinking about that today, and I don't know if there's before we kind of get into like going to the Wilbur tonight, and is there anything else from today's show that you wanted to touch on?
Nothing really. I really don't understand who Greg Polar is. I'm still confused.
Yeah. But... So I guess later this week on Thursday, Mike's going to be coming in. Greg Polar's going to be coming in. He's the brother of Amy Polar. He lives in Sweden. He had a TV show that I believe I looked it up, and he ran for 2 seasons. It was all about like him moving to Sweden and him living there. So we'll see. He seems to be like a funny guy. He definitely is someone who gets the show. I believe he's
in on the joke.
Oh clearly. Yeah, he's very in on the joke. He wrote an entire pilot about it wasn't about KMS, but every single character referenced in there was like Big Steve or like Kirk or Blind Mike and all these other things. So he's definitely a fan of the show. I've seen people like he's tweeted out things before about like.
Sure, I've seen some tweets, but I just didn't understand why he was famous. I figured it was just because he's Amy Poehler's brother.
Well, it sounds like he's kind of in the TV business. I think he's deserving of a Thursday spot as much as anyone else is.
Oh, sure. So as much as anyone.
So we'll see. I mean, we had Montante last Thursday. We'll see how.
Kind of set the bar low. I mean, as popularity wise, I liked Montante on the show, but as popularity wise,
I think it was split 50-50 in regards to that. But yeah. So, and if anyone in the Twitter Spaces wants to talk or anything, we'll do that in just 5 minutes, just a couple minutes.
But exactly 5.
Yeah, exactly 5. So me and Colin are going out to the Wilbur tonight, and I know we said on the show that it's just this whole jokey thing, like we won't be going out to watch the Celtics game. It's like we both know that we'll be going out. The bros will be going out for Game 5 tonight, going hard, representing the C's. Watching it with the foreplay boys. But no, I'm excited to go to the Wilbur just to kind of check it out and see what we need to get done in regards to our show.
As someone who's not a zero of a golf fan, I in fact, matter of fact, I find the sport to be painfully boring. But what are they even going to do with Kirk? Kirk said he didn't even know. Like it's going to be.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't listen. I mean, I have friends who love golf, and they say Foreplay is the best golf podcast there is. I don't listen to golf, so I don't listen to Foreplay. But it's something where it's just like not something where I don't know what they're going to be doing with Kirk. So we'll see.
Maybe just a conversation. Is that your landline ringing?
Yeah, that's my But it is what it is. So yeah, looking forward to that. We'll see what comes out of that. I know Kirk mentioned kind of like touring the Wilbur afterwards. See what we need. Oh,
sure.
The funny part of today's show, I can't play clips on Twitter Spaces, but to hear Kirk ask, like, so who's in charge of the timing of our Wilbur show? And Dave was like, I am. He's like, so what time does it start? Dave goes 7:30, and I'm looking at it, and it just says 7 o'clock. It was just
that's the most Cullinane thing.
It was just very funny.
He just answers before he knows anything.
He just
says, yeah, it's me. It's 7:30. Yep,
we don't have to put on a stupid accent there, Blind Owl. I think that's a little offensive. But
no, that's what he sounds like.
But I think yeah, today was just a classic like 2019 throwback episode. But here we'll get to we have some people who requested to talk.
It hasn't been 5 minutes.
So I don't know who here. We'll add Adu Shuker April.
Ooh. Hello, caller.
Yeah. So just got to unmute yourself in the bottom left. And we'll see.
But we'll see young Simon.
Hello? Nope.
I saw the thing.
Okay.
I'm wondering if this is a bot, my friend.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that was, but it was as competent as probably we were today.
I mean, it's about as legible as I was, I assume.
Yeah. So if anyone else has anything to say about today's show, looking forward to. I think the rigged show on Wednesday is going to be great. I think people. I heard like me and Mike were driving back and we were like talking about like, oh, I wonder how the Wednesday show is going to be. And he said, what did he say? He said, he's like, oh, I'm sure they'll just talk golf and things like that. And I'm sure there will be some golf talk, but I can see it really steering towards kind of like a Whitney episode where you get like someone who listens to the show, someone who loves the show, a professional broadcaster who knows what they're doing, kind of gets in and it's just going. I bet it's going to be a very like it sounds stupid, but a very KMS.
I could see Kirk really digging into like they could do their golf talk, but then Kirk, like he did with Carabas, really dig into the background.
Yeah,
really just he might say something that Riggs doesn't care for or is uncomfortable with, and Kirk he'll just hammer it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be like hold Riggs' feet to the fire or anything like that, but I just think it's going to be just kind of like Riggs just asking questions about Clemmer, asking questions about things going on behind the scenes.
Sure, and I think that'll be a good thing because he listens.
Yeah, so let's see. Let's do this. Mark Skittle, I'll add you as a speaker.
I do like Skittles.
Yes,
so we'll see how this goes.
You gotta unmute yourself.
Mark, are you with us?
Hey, Justin. I was wondering if you learned how to use a compass after walking the wrong way.
If I learned how to use a compass?
Yeah, did you learn where true north was?
Yes. So thankfully, my grandfather, before he passed, actually gave me a compass. So it was very nice of him. But do you have anything for
Justin, can you build me a deck like that one that you built before?
That's right. I did build a deck. Do you got anything from today's wrap up?
No, I like hearing your voice.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mark.
How complimentary.
Do you think you could get Montanti a proper haircut? Maybe do shave his head or whatever he's got remaining left on it. That would be a pretty good episode.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Thanks, Mark.
See something about that. Maybe shave a head. Yeah.
But I think that does do something. But let's see. All we got Adishakur April.
That person again
is requesting to speak. I don't
Do
think
we give him another chance?
I don't think so, because I really couldn't understand what they were saying the previous time. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to Wednesday's episode. I think it should be. It's always good to kind of get like a Barstool guy, especially in studio. It happens so rarely. That
Exactly. I'm not a big fan of people joining by phone anyway, so I like the in studio vibes. They kind of play off each other, and I mean, Dave will probably end up being a punching bag because he's an idiot. But
yeah, we'll see. We will see. So, anything else from today's show or looking forward to? I know you check out Blind Owl blogs. I'm sure
check
there'll
out Blind Owl
be
blogs. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure I'll be writing something, seeing how school's ending.
perfect.
But also check out the Boston Renegades beat baseball. Just throwing that out there.
Perfect. Okie dokie. Well, thank you everyone who listened. Thank you to Kirk. Thanks Dave. Thanks Mike for a great show today. And we will talk to you later.
Peace.